Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia and today we're going to be starting yet another reading vlog. I like to do these kind of every few weeks or so. But this week we are going to have a theme for our reading vlog. We're not just going random. No, we have a theme, and that theme is sci-fi. I have read a couple of sci-fi books. I haven't particularly loved them. But I feel like, it is fantasy's closest cousin, practically a sibling. So I think I want to give some more books in that genre a chance. So I've got a couple secondhand and I'm gonna give them a try. They all seem like books that are interesting. They're all books that well, not all books, but at least all authors that I've heard about. So let's quickly go over the TBR. First, I have Hyperion by Dan Simmons. This one we got Galactic War, Time Tombs. Sounds interesting. I've heard this talked about a lot as kind of one of those books that, like, if you're gonna try sci-fi, this is like one of the flagships of the genre to try. So there's that. And then I have a really short book that I think will be a fun, easy one to get through, nice and floppy, which is The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin, who is of course the author of Wizard of Earthsea, which I would like to read at some point. But not right this second, I don't think. This is, as I said, a short one, under 200 pages, which we love. And I'm not super sure what this one is 100% about. I think it's set in our world, just in the future. So yeah, I don't know how much in the future because she was writing some time ago. So it'll be interesting if there's a year. Let me see. No, I don't see any years to know if it's like actually secretly today, but this one I just kind of picked up on a whim because I recognize the author and because it was so short. And then finally I have Leviathan Wakes. This is the first book in The Expanse. I've seen some of the TV show, I enjoyed it, and of course this is a big sort of behemoth in the genre. It's quite a few books. I've heard it's like a space opera, I guess, and actually, okay, it's 560 pages. For a second there I saw 200 and I was like, how is this only 200 pages? It's not, 560. But I don't know how much the TV show exactly correlates to the book, so I feel like the story is going to be pretty new to me anyway. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. I always see the like special edition in indigo with like the pink sprayed edges, but I feel like I can't buy a special edition of a book I don't even know if I like. So I got this one from the thrift store for $5. And if I like it, maybe I'll get myself the fancy pink one. But this is the TBR for the video. I don't know if I'll completely finish Leviathan Wakes, but I want to at least finish these two and get a decent start on this one. Today is Tuesday, so we'll wrap this up next Tuesday. We'll see how far we can get in that time. But I think the book that I'm going to start with is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. is the next day, and I have an update on Hyperion. I made it up to page 56, which is not that far, but I have a feeling this is going to be one of those books that's kind of a slow read, and not because like the plot is moving slowly. Like, we honestly kind of really got straight into it without a lot of preamble, but mostly because of the writing style. It's more like, I don't want to say specifically poetic, but it is kind of quite descriptive, and I'm finding the writing very beautiful so far, so I'm trying to get the most out of it, I guess. As you saw, sorry, it's hard to show the tabs. I'm annotating this. I sort of decided to do that before I actually realized that the writing was going to be as nice as it is, but that works out because if you keep up with this channel, you know I'm working on writing my own book, so I think annotating other books that have writing that I like is a good way to sort of help me pick apart what I like about it and find elements that I can apply to my own writing. So I'm glad that this is kind of helping me in that regard, but I'm also just enjoying the story so far. And as I said, the prose is kind of prose where it's like, sometimes you're reading and the prose is kind of neutral, or maybe it's bad and it takes away from the story, but this is the sort of prose that like adds to the story, without being overly distracting, really. Like, we're still moving along in the plot, you know, we're not wasting a ton of time talking about, I don't know, descriptions or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then another thing that's kind of slowing me down a little bit, or at least was in the beginning, is we get like a lot of sort of terms and groups introduced. So I was like, I want to try to like actually understand these and like remember what these groups are so that I'm not like confused later on. So that's slowing me down a bit. But yeah, I am so far on chapter, I think this is still chapter 1. They're going to be quite long chapters, it appears. And we have a group of 7 people who have been chosen for this mission to go to Hyperion. And it's kind of got a bit of an interesting structure where they've decided they're each going to tell each other their stories, like one of them each night. So we're on the first story now. They are about to land on Hyperion, and we're learning about this priest guy, which is very interesting. But I kind of feel like I've been rambling for a while now, so I'm going to continue doing some reading of this because, as I said, it's gonna take me a while to read this, so I need to capitalize on the most reading time that I can. So yeah, let's go ahead and get back to the reading. The next day. I've already been to work today, came home, didn't work out, I don't know why that stuck in my throat so much, and had a shower. So I did do a little bit of reading of Hyperion at work. I got about another 30 odd pages in, and I'm continuing to enjoy it. However, I feel like some more of its kind of flaws are coming out now that I am noticing that I weren't originally present at the beginning. And specifically for me, it's like its treatment of women. So in their group of 7, there is one woman. We haven't really got much of her yet, but that's because they're like each telling their stories, so she'll get her turn, I presume. But then also, the only other woman that's really been mentioned is there's a woman in the second guy's story, and the thing that I really didn't like about it is like she's essentially like a sex object until, and this is kind of a spoiler, she like turns into a monster. So like I wasn't a very big fan of that, and there was a couple spots where I noticed it, and I started a blue sticky, you can kind of see a blue color for annotations for where I could mark down where I didn't like the treatment of women. So I'm gonna have to go back and add a few of those in because I just started it recently. Or no, sorry, it wasn't specifically for women, but you know, just like elements that were bad. I thought it was just for women, but looking at that, I was like, oh yeah, I don't specifically like that either. So you know, there are some elements I'm not a big fan of in this, especially when it's like, I don't know, something about having like one token woman and there's also one token brown person in the group. It's just like, it's somehow worse than if they just like weren't present at all, because it's like, okay, you thought about these groups of people and you were like, yeah, I think people want to see them, but then it's just like, well, we can't go too far. You get one and you had better be happy about it, and something about that just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, like, yeah. But I think I've kind of babbled enough for the moment. I was originally going to try to like finish this whole thing today, and I still want to make quite a bit of progress, but I'm feeling in the mood to do some editing, and I have a video that I want to put out on Saturday, so I'd either have to edit it tonight or tomorrow morning. So either way, it's the same amount of time. It's just going to be split differently now, which I think is probably a more sustainable reading habit if I sort of split up the reading time a little bit. So do some editing tonight, maybe some tomorrow. But yeah, that's the plan. Do some editing, and then the only other plan is to do some reading. So that's I don't know how many times I have to say that. I'm just gonna go now. My editing. It was a pretty easy video to edit, just kind of like a sit down and talking one, not a like vlog. They tend to take a lot more time to edit as I try to like piece together all the little clips and stuff. But yeah, that's just exporting now. It is 4:45, so I'll probably eat dinner kind of soonish. And unfortunately, I'm really kind of not in a reading mood. I really am in kind of like a play a video game or like watch something kind of mood. And I'm not sure if oh, hi Gemma. Gemma's here to scream at me. I'm not sure if I want to force myself to read or just do whatever I feel like doing. It's a real conundrum. Gemma, what do you think I should do? Do you think I should feed her and pet her? In that order, Gemma, or in the other order? She doesn't want to be on camera. She's camera shy. Oh, is she gonna headbutt my hand? I don't know, I'm so indecisive. I should just like do a thing. I waste so much time trying to decide what is like the perfect thing that I'm in the mood to do. But really, like, does that ever work? I think I'm gonna read. Yeah. I might try to sit outside, but it is currently 35 degrees with humidity. So I think I will last about 5 seconds. But I'll give it a good old college try. As soon as I can find my annotating pencil. I don't know where I put it. And I specifically use the one mechanical pencil that I have. So I'm gonna go on a quest for that. And then I'll sit outside for 5 seconds and read this book. Yoink. managed to survive slightly longer outside than I thought I would. I think I was out there for like 45 minutes or so, and I'm now up to page 100 and, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm now up to page 214. I started at page 164 today, so I'm like 50 pages into today's reading, and I still have like 250 pages left of this book. So the odds of me finishing it today are starting to look a little bit smaller, but now that I've started reading, I'm much more in the mood for reading. I feel like that tends to happen, you know, you are kind of in an in-between, not doing anything yet, and you maybe have several things that you wouldn't mind doing, but like actually starting one is kind of harder. And then once you actually start one, you're like, okay, either you immediately realize you didn't actually want to do that, or you immediately get like really sucked in. And luckily for me, I have gotten sucked into the reading, so I'm going to continue. I've been making quite a few annotations, which obviously slows the reading down as well. But yeah, I will hopefully be able to get through. I would like to read like another 100 pages of this today, but I am not actually sure how. Sorry, the cat is here again. I'm not sure how realistic that is. We shall see. I broke down and ordered a Domino's pizza. I was gonna eat leftovers, and then I slowly started to feel like, oh, I don't really feel like eating those. And then I just got like a sudden craving for Domino's, and I couldn't resist it, so I ordered it, and it will be here soonish, hopefully. But yeah, that's the plans for the rest of the night, is read, eat pizza, and apparently get headbutted by this little kitty cat. Oh, where are you going? Come on. Where are you going? Don't. Alright, it is now 7 o'clock. I'm up to page 268, which is approximately 100 pages for today. I would like to read another 50 pages if I can, so finish off around page 110. I'm not sure if I will be able to do that, but that's kind of the goal, so that I can maybe finish tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would like to take a break from reading at some point tonight. You know, it's not like a 24-hour reading challenge or anything, so I don't like have to force myself to read, other than the fact that I've got this idea into my head that I need to read 3 different books for this vlog. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I will for sure finish this one. I think I can finish this book and Lathe of Time for this video, and maybe start a tiny bit of why did I forget what that book is called? Leviathan Wakes. But if not, it is not the end of the world, I suppose. Or I could just extend this longer than a week. That's also an option. I might do that. Because otherwise I have 4 days left, but Monday my partner's off, so we're planning to spend a bunch of time together. So I probably won't get very much reading done then. But yeah, we shall see. I will extend it if I need to. But I think I'm going to read at least till the end of the current story that we're on. We're on the 4th person's tale. So let me see if I can find the end of it. I should be on chapter 4, so I'm looking for the chapter header for chapter 5. Where is that? I wish that books still had table of contents. A lot of them don't. And it's just like, I want to know how long the chapters are. I want to be able to find the beginnings. All right, chapter 5. Okay, that is about 50 pages away. It starts on page 311. So yeah, I don't know if I will finish this one tonight or not. I kind of want to watch something or something, as I've already said, but I'll keep reading for now. We'll see when I give up. Good morning, friends. I apologize that it's kind of dark, but it is 6 a.m. and it's cloudy outside, so you know there's not much we can do about that. But yesterday I managed to make it up to page 350 in Hyperion, so that means I have about 120 pages left, which hopefully I will be able to get to this morning at some point before I have to go to work at 1 o'clock. What's that? Yeah. Alright guys, I guess I'm going outside to read because my cat will not stop screaming at me until I take her outside. Where is she? She's on the staircase somewhere. I don't know. And she's driving me a batshit. So we're gonna go outside and sit for a bit, although it doesn't matter how long I sit outside with her. As soon as I can bring her back inside, she starts doing that again. So we will temporarily satisfy her. But oh my god. She drives me crazy. Have your little jacket on? You ready to go outside? What's the anger? Alright, I just finished Hyperion, and I kind of didn't realize that this was like in a like an actual like series. I thought it was like a standalone and there were like other books set in the world, but actually it is not. It has left us at a cliffhanger, and then I guess the next one is the fall of Hyperion. So I have to read that if I want to get the full conclusion to this. But now it seems like this one, I was like, oh, there's not enough pages to wrap this all up. And then it feels like if there's another book, that's going to be a lot of pages to not wrap up, not a lot. But I guess, you know, it's a pretty broad world. They can always, you can always bring in more elements and follow other stuff. And obviously it really depends on what happens at the time too. In terms of like the sci-fi-iness, at the beginning it was like a little bit much to follow. And there's all sorts of just like, I don't know if I want to call them buzzwords, but kind of buzzwords that he throws in to like make the society feel extra sci-fi-y, future-y. And I mean, I'm pretty sure some of them mean pretty much nothing or were seriously misused in the pursuit of making it sound futuristic, which it doesn't bother me too much. Probably because I also, I think if I were like a tech person and I understood a lot of these, what these terms meant, whichever ones of them are actually even real anyway, maybe it would bother me more. But since I'm not really that deep into, you know, code and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't bother me that much. So do I recommend it? Yes and no. It definitely feels like, sorry, I never know what to do when I'm holding a book. I always just, it feels like it was written for men. I'll say that. So if you're a man, you probably would like it, but as long as you are aware that this book, a lot of times when it speaks about women, is doing so from a place that feels quite sexist to me as a woman. So yeah, that is my thoughts on Hyperion. Mimi, what do you think? Okay. She's very needy today. But the next one I'm going to be reading is Lathe of Heaven, so hopefully that one will not have so much sexism. But I don't know if I'm going to start that today or not. I have to go to work soon, so this will probably be the last update for today. Hello friends, welcome back. So it's been several days since my last update and like last clips that I filmed. I am currently up to page 128 in Lathe of Heaven, so I have like 40 or so pages left to go. And I am really enjoying it. I thought we could maybe chat a little bit about it while I make some lunch. I actually don't think I need such a big knife. Let's use this little guy. I'm gonna have some egg salad sandwiches. Well, I'm gonna have like a wrap. I've got these like little tiny wraps, so I feel like one egg is probably one wrap, so I'm gonna have two. And I wanna add some vegetables, if I can find some non-wilty spinach. This spinach probably should have got used earlier. Oops. And I thought we could talk a little bit about Lathe of Heaven, which, did I say it? I don't know. But I'm really enjoying it so far. It's definitely very different from Hyperion in that, like, it reads a lot more like a classic, and I think I did say, but somebody has actually, there's a few annotations in here, and then they have some notes, like, on the back page, and they have, like, some highlights and stuff, which is kind of interesting. And my partner thought that it was somebody doing a school project, but I feel like it's either like a university kind of grade project, or it kind of, to me, feels like an, I don't know, maybe slightly older person who's like reading on their own time and likes to kind of analyze that sort of thing. They have a lot of references to like Taoism and stuff, which is not something that I'm very familiar with, so I can't really say how I feel about their connections there, because I don't really, I know of it. That's kind of the extent of my knowledge there, though, so I can't really comment on their annotations. I'm not annotating it, but I kind of feel like I should have, because actually, hang on, maybe I'll add that in later. I kind of feel like I should have, because it's very interesting, and it has a lot of the elements of it make you sort of think a lot more, which is partially why I was saying that it's definitely very different from Hyperion, because Hyperion, it has some things where it feels like it wants you to think about stuff. Sorry, I'm grabbing my tomatoes from like right in front of you. But for the most part, it just kind of feels like it's telling a story, which is obviously fine, but it's like less thought-provoking, I guess, whereas this one definitely feels like it's trying to make you think about the morality of a lot of the stuff that's happening. So I don't think I explained what is happening in this book yet, but our main character, George, has what he calls affective dreams, and they essentially are dreams that change reality in some way. And so, for example, when he was a kid, I think it was like his first one or something, his aunt was staying with them, and he was feeling kind of annoyed with her and thinking that he wanted her to like leave, like go away. And so he has this dream, and it changes the reality to be that she actually died several weeks prior, and nobody else realizes that the reality has been changed except for him, because nobody else was there, like in the dream that's probably enough, at the moment of the change. And so as he gets older, he starts to abuse drugs because he's trying to repress the dreams, because he's afraid of changing reality, and obviously because he can't like control what happens, so he doesn't know who he might kill with an errant thought or that kind of thing. So he does that, and then he overdoses essentially, because he builds up a tolerance to the drug, so he takes more and more until he overdoses, and he is kind of found out, because this is like sort of a, I don't know, post-apocalyptic, but it's a different future from ours at least. And so he's forced into what they call it voluntary therapy, but really it's forced, which I suppose is not that different from sometimes what happens currently, where people are forced into psychiatric wards against their will. It definitely happens. But that's essentially what happens, and the psychiatrist at first doesn't believe him that it's that the dreams are actually like possible, but then he changes a painting in a psychiatrist's office, and at first the psychiatrist is obviously like it's when something, you realize something is real but you don't want to believe it. He's having that kind of reaction, but eventually he does believe him, and then is when we kind of start to get into the moral dilemmas, because this psychiatrist guy starts changing things about the world purposefully, because he's using like hypnotic suggestion to put Or to sleep, and so he suggests the content of the dreams, and so because of this he's able to remember that there was a different reality. So he starts suggesting things. At first he suggests like that Orr has this like cabin that he said that he wanted, so it's pretty benign, but he starts to make other suggestions, you know, to change the world. Sort of, he wants to make it like a better world, but by doing so, I don't really want to give away, I don't know how much you would say is spoilers, but I'll try not to spoil too much. But what I've said so far, I wouldn't really count as spoilers. It's kind of like on the back / pretty early on in the book. But he starts to make changes that impact other people, but obviously he has not like spoken to those other people about what they would actually want, and he starts to make choices that maybe theoretically make life better for people, but at like a huge cost. So definitely not the choices that like one guy should be making for all of humanity. He starts to kind of go on like a little bit of like a power trip. He thinks that like he is the guy who's going to kind of sort it out for humanity because this future is kind of shitty. And we start to follow like the repercussions of that, because the dreams don't always do the thing that you want in the way that you would want. And so, yeah, things start to get a bit crazy. We get some more sci-fi elements introduced. And where I'm at right now, I thought I was going to go one way, but then it just seems like George, or is his name, has like kind of completely fallen under the psychiatrist. Like, he's kind of trapped by him, I guess. And yeah, I'm interested to see where this is going to end. But so far, as I said, I've really enjoyed it. I like the kind of more philosophical, I guess, elements of it, where it wants you to sort of think about if this thing is technically good for humankind, but it's not good for this percentage of the population. Like, it's very like trolley problem kind of deal, where what would you do to like improve the life of people? Like, how many, what sacrifices do you think, what are you willing to make, I guess? And what is the morality of making those decisions for others, kind of. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I have not very much left, as I said. I'm not sure if I'll finish it today, just because I have a bunch of stuff I need to get to, but tomorrow I have to work, and so I'll have about an hour of reading time between my breaks, and I think an hour is probably enough to finish it. I've been reading it not slowly, because I feel like the book is relatively like quickly paced, you know, things keep happening and it's pretty snappy, but I want to like think about it as I'm reading it, so that element slows me down a little bit. But yeah, I think that is kind of all I have to say. I am gonna finish making my egg salad. I might read a little bit more as I eat my lunch, and I'll give you an update probably at the end of the book. I feel like I've said kind of everything that is going to be like changing between now and the end, so I'll give you an update at the end, and then hopefully soon we'll be able to start Leviathan Wakes, which I don't think I'm going to finish in this video, but I want to at least get a good percentage of the way through. So I'll talk to you probably tomorrow. All right, it is the next day, and I did finish, sorry for a minute there, I forgot the name of the book, but I did finish Lathe of Heaven last night, and I won't speak any more about it now because I feel like I've talked about it a lot in the last few clips, so we won't talk about it more. But I did start Leviathan Wakes. Oh my god, my brain right now is not functioning very well. I did start this while I was at work today, and so far I'm enjoying it. I feel like mostly I'm just like looking at it and comparing it to what I've seen at the show. I mean, like, oh, how much does the storyline match up? And so far it's pretty similar. There's definitely a lot that I've kind of forgotten about the plot though, so I am remembering as I go. I suppose there's not much I can say at 40 pages into like a 550 page book, but yeah, I started it. So far so good. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. Hello friends, welcome back. So it's probably been like a week or so since the last clip I actually shared, but I was just editing together the footage and this is a long one, so I just want to wrap things up quickly now. We're not gonna make it to the end of Leviathan Wakes, unfortunately, but we did manage to finish both Hyperion and Lathe of Heaven. I'm not gonna talk more about these books now just because I talked about them in an exceeding amount of length in this video already, so I'm just going to quickly say that I did enjoy this one, but with caveats, and then this one I really recommend to anybody, really. I think it was very enjoyable, and it's also very short, so you can't really go wrong. And then I am still, of course, reading Leviathan Wakes. I'm on page 230, so I'm a little bit under halfway through. And this is a very enjoyable read. It's definitely very action-packed, and so far it's actually surprisingly close to the show, or like the show is surprisingly close to this in terms of like the plot and everything that's happening. So that's an interesting thing to note if you were interested in this story but aren't a big reader. So far the show, I feel like, has done a very good job of staying true to this, so you could just read that. But yeah, I'm gonna continue reading this on my own time. This book is about 550 pages, so still probably a couple good days worth of reading left in this. But as I said, this vlog has gone on for a very long time, so I just want to say that in terms of sci-fi, which was kind of the point of this reading vlog, was to like experiment with sci-fi, get out of my fantasy bubble. We've had pretty good success, I would say. I didn't dislike any of these strongly. As I said, I had my problems with Hyperion, but overall, I think as a genre, I have enjoyed these 3 examples from it. I like what it has to offer, and I will probably continue to add a little bit more sci-fi into my repertoire. But actually, after having read these 3 books, I am even more excited to get back into fantasy. And I think that was honestly kind of what I needed, was like a little bit of a break so that I can jump back into fantasy. And I still have a bunch to read in this book, but I really just, right now, I really feel like picking up a fantasy book, so this might become something that I read sort of slowly. It might become my workbook. I might potentially leave it there and just like pick away at it kind of episodically as I have with the show. But yeah, I would say my journey into sci-fi has been a success. This is not about to become a sci-fi channel, but I can see myself reading more of it in the future. But that is most certainly all that I have time for today, so thank you so much for watching. Almost dropped everything. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.